gave my on-stage testimonial at a Dr. Joe Dispenza event back in April of 21 in Orlando. And it was after I healed myself from a chronic autoimmune condition that attacked the nerves in my body, causing my legs and feet to be paralyzed. Even though you may have seen my testimonial, I am sharing this with all of you because there is a huge part of my experience at the Dr. Joe event that I never share with people, and I never thought it was relevant. You know, it was really the highlight was me being on stage sharing my story, but it just occurred to me that it's all relevant. It's all connected. And so I'm here to share with you the whole story of how that even came to be, how I was able to meet Dr. Joe backstage and get on stage with him and share my story of healing. You know how they say the universe loves to surprise and delight us? Well, I'm going to share with you how the universe sent me to this event. And I'm going to share it with you from the beginning because it all is connected. I just shared with you a little bit about my challenge that I went through. And before my challenge, I had never heard of Dr. Joe. It was my second hospital stay when one of my Facebook friends reached out to me and said, "Have you ever heard of this guy?" And I said, "No, I never did." And he sent me a couple of Dr. Joe's interviews where he talks about the work. And as soon as I started hearing him talk, I knew that this is what I was meant to learn from this challenge. And so from that point forward, I literally was back in school again. I was learning everything I needed to know about doing this work. And now I wound up healing myself, thank God. And I know that everybody can do it too. The challenge that you're going through in your life right now is the messenger to cause you to discover who you really are, discover how to love yourself, and to let go of the false program that has been dictating all of our lives. But that's for another video. This message is all about sharing with you how I know that I was sent there by the divine and that this was a divinely orchestrated event. Before my health challenge, I was already a certified health and wellness coach. And that's another reason why I was in shock that I was in the situation that I was in, having this autoimmune condition at 52 years old, after not having any issues throughout my lifetime, after I was the one out there promoting eating healthy and taking care of your body and working out and being fit and all of those things. And then suddenly I was unable to walk and I couldn't feel my feet. I was unable to even use my legs or my feet. Bear with me a minute because all of these details are going to play into the reason why I know that it's all connected. So I was a health coach. My passion was already to help people to overcome their limiting beliefs in order to transcend their suffering in their life and become their best version of themselves. So while I was going through my health challenge, when I was in the hospital and I heard of Dr. Joe, I believed that I was going to have to be at an event in order to heal myself. And I started manifesting being at an event. I imagined myself at the event. I felt how that would feel being there. And I did all the things, meditated on it, and I wound up healing myself regardless. So before I even attended any event, I healed myself. But because I manifested it, it did come to fruition. And this is how it played out. While I was in the hospital, I had applied for a Give to Give scholarship because I was not in a financial situation that I could afford to attend an event, but I thought I was going to need to be there in order to heal. So I sent an application and I just never heard back from them. And then after I had already healed myself, I actually reached out just to see if they even processed my application, and they responded to me saying that they actually were going to reach out to me because they picked me out of this big pile of applications that they had. They chose mine in order to reach out to me and get on a Zoom call with them to interview me. And I was so excited that of course I got on the Zoom call, and the moment I got on, the beautiful soul who interviewed me told me that she had this inner feeling that somehow my application stood out among all the other ones. She felt this calling to connect with me, and as soon as we got on the call together, she said she knew that she had this feeling that I was the one who was supposed to go. And so they did offer me a full scholarship, fully paid for everything, the cost of the admission for the event, as well as the accommodations, which includes food and everything. All I had to, and it was right in Orlando. All I had to do was just get in my car and pay for gas to get there. It was 2 hours away from me. So this felt like such a divine gift. And that's not all. I was so over the top filled with gratitude for Give to Give and this opportunity that presented itself to me. And then, after I was gifted that opportunity, I then found out that you could raise your hand to be one of the 30 people out of 1,150 people that were attending the event. They were going to choose 30 people to participate in the research team. And I raised my hand for that, and I got chosen for that too. So I was just in a state of awe. So needless to say, I was so excited about going to the event. I really had this feeling like I was being sent there. And then it turns out that I really was, because I attended the event not knowing anybody else that was going, and I was in the research team. Part of that process, of which one of them is the brain mapping. So it was my turn to be brain mapped during this particular day. Now this is the day before I was even invited to get on stage with Dr. Joe. So I was sitting in the chair being brain mapped, and it just so happens that the head of the brain mapping team is the one who is reading my brain waves. And during the meditation, my eyes were closed, and all of a sudden, in the middle of the meditation, I heard him sobbing. And when I say sobbing, I mean a real deep sob. And I immediately broke out of my meditation hearing this, and I was concerned about him. And then it started occurring to me, I wonder if he's sobbing about something that he's seeing with my brain waves. And then I'm thinking, oh, that's ridiculous. Not everything is about you, right? He probably has his own thing going on, and he's emotional about something. And I brought myself back into the meditation. And it was a beautiful meditation. And then at the end of it, that same guy who was the head of the brain mapping team reading my brain waves, as soon as the meditation was over, he came out from behind the table and he said to me, "What did you see in your meditation?" And I said, well, normally I don't visualize, but in this particular one, I actually did have a vision of, I was in the grass under a big tree, and I felt God's presence there. I've always had that dream since I was a little girl. I always had a dream that I was in the grass with a big tree over me, and that I was having a picnic with God. That was my dream. So in this vision, it was the same setting, and there was also a flower garden, and my grandfather, who I love dearly and passed away many years ago, was there too. And he was so jovial being there, and he was dancing in the flower garden. And when I told him that I felt like God was there with me, he said to me, "He was there with you." And he explained what he meant by that. He said that years ago, he had a near-death experience, and ever since that time, he's now able to see spirit and divine beings. And he said that he saw an angel on the other side of the room, and that it came from the other side of the room and went right into me, right through me. And he couldn't believe it. He said he had never seen such a thing before. I was in tears. I was in tears that this divine experience just happened. and I didn't really know what it meant. I didn't really feel anything physical going through me, but I believed him, and he was so emotional and so adamant that that's what happened, and I was just in awe. So I was really, the rest of the day, I was just kind of in a daze, like, what could that have meant? Oh my gosh, And that evening, while I was in my hotel room, I thought to myself, oh my gosh, I can finally thank Dr. Joe, because I am now in contact with people who are in contact with Dr. Joe, personal contact with him. So I can write a letter thanking him and explaining to him just how he served me and how he helped me overcome this challenge, this crazy, scary challenge that I went through, and how he was the light who led me out of the darkness. And I was so excited about the opportunity to thank him by writing a letter. So I went outside and I sat on a bench, and it wound up being really noisy. A lot of people were around. So then I moved to another bench that was further away. And then all of a sudden, this lawnmower starts going off really loud, that people were doing the lawn, and it was distracting to me. So I got up and I walked further and further away from the main doors, and I found a bench where it was quiet, and I finished my letter to Dr. Joe. And when I was finished, I folded it up and I put it away in my backpack, and then I decided to just sit and meditate for a bit before I went back in. I closed my eyes, and after just a few seconds, I heard a thump. And I looked up. There was a baby bird lying on the concrete about 100 feet in front of me. What I think happened is that the baby bird didn't realize that those were glass windows on this building, and he flew right into them. And here he was on the ground, and I ran over and I saw that he was blinking, but he wasn't able to move. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, I have to save this bird. So I said, okay, well, maybe this is happening so that I can practice my healing abilities by healing this baby bird. So I started rubbing my hands together, and then I pulled them apart, and I was directing my energy on this bird, and I was singing to the bird, and I was saying loving words to the bird, and I was petting the bird. I was just giving the bird so much love. And then I realized, hold on, I have the phone number of the person in charge of the research team who is in charge of the Coherence Healing Group. So I figured, let me text her and see if she would meet me and join me in healing this bird. So I texted her, and I was so amazed that she actually did come down and join me. And so the two of us were then healing this bird together. And then she said to me, we really should get back inside. So I said, okay, well, before we go, let me just move the bird, because I didn't want anyone to step on the bird. So as I start to cup it, it flew away. It flew away. And she and I were just so joyful. We were so elated at the fact that this bird survived and it was totally fine, that we were hugging each other and we were in tears of joy. And that is when she turned to me and said, so Bonnie, tell me your story. And the reason she even knew that I had a story is because I'm part of the research team thread. And at some point I had mentioned in the thread that I had healed myself using this work. But nothing was ever asked about it or anything like that. And she immediately said, oh my gosh, Dr. Joe's going to want to see this. And right there and then she messaged Dr. Joe and she said, he wants to meet you backstage. I mean, what are the chances of everything that happening, especially with the day before, having a divine angel go through me, and then having this happen with the bird, and then just everything. I just felt like I was in this divine orchestration of events that was destined to happen. And then when I met Dr. Joe, oh my gosh, so not only was I able to hand him the letter myself, but I was able to give him a hug and thank him myself and actually say to him, you are such a divine gift to this world. I mean, to be able to have that opportunity, which I know so many people watching this probably would love to say to him, and I had that opportunity. So don't think that I'm not so grateful, and especially because of what I went through. This was the light at the end of the tunnel, this experience. So even though I was deathly afraid of speaking, public speaking on stage, of course, I did it anyway. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm here to show people that healing is possible for them too. Of course I'm going to get up there because this is why it happened. So this is why I know that it happened for me, because I believe that my health challenge itself is what started the whole path, and that it happened in order to put me right where I am today, in this place where I've healed myself and I understand the ups and downs of the healing journey. And that's why I'm here, to help others to do the same, to rise above their conditioned program that continues to get in the way, even when you're doing all the things. Even when you're meditating and going to the retreats and doing everything right, and you're still not seeing the healing, it's because you have to raise your consciousness in order to heal. You can't do it from the same level of mind. And that's what I call consciousness captivity. Most people are trying to heal themselves from the same level of mind. And so that is where my specialty lies, is helping people to disidentify from the mind in order to raise your consciousness and then be able to heal yourself from a new level of mind. One that is in alignment with your healing. That's all that the challenges are here for anyway, just to cause us to go within and discover who we really are, separate from the conditioned program, so that we can then move on and lead our greatest life. What if that's really here for you too? That is what I believe. So you want to hear something else that's interesting, is that even before I ever had a health challenge or knew about Dr. Joe, I was already a health coach, right? This was already my purpose. And I had created a Facebook group called Be Your Best You with Bonnie, and that was back in 2013. My health challenge happened in 2019. And I also, in 2016, had created a business name for my coaching business, and it's called Reinvent Yourself with Bonnie. So all along, this has been my calling, and I know it makes so much sense. This is why my health challenge happened, because I still wasn't getting it. Even though I had many challenges in my life, I still wasn't getting who I really was. I was still living according to the conditioned program, and I was living small. So it wasn't until my health challenge that it woke me up to doing this work on a deeper level, and this is my passion and my purpose, to help others to do the same. So now that I've shared my entire story, I hope you enjoyed it, and just know that manifestation is real, that healing is possible, and that you can do it too.